should be recording this. I gotta change my setup. I keep having to let people in rather than them just popping in. I will be right back, but you guys can feel free to chat until everybody arrives. So, hi, Kelly. So, Kelly, who are you with?
Well, sorry. Bye. See ya. Sorry. Hold on. I'm on a web call.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
okay. No, you're good.
I'm with Wisconsin Hoop Select, but I work at the Mount Horeb High School, so I'm at school right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. Okay. I gotta make sure I know who's all in, because I started to just go through everything, and I wanted to pull together a final director's kind of contact list. So
It's Keith, Lisa.
hey, Keith, welcome. We're gonna give people some time to join. People can just start taking the first couple minutes to just converse amongst themselves, and then I will start the meeting in a little bit, and I'll just start with agenda notes and things like that, and then Keith, I'll let you know when it's your time to
No
roll.
problem.
That rhymed. Awesome. Hey, TR. Hi, Corey. We got Green Bay Metro. Mary's here. Awesome.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Feel like I'm coming out of the Twilight Zone. It's been crazy. I'll be right back.
Matt, Matt, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Hey, when you get a chance, can you give me a call after 2 o'clock today sometime?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Sounds great.
Got more people coming in. Adam from Crusaders, Sherry from Closed Gyms, Jeremy Thiesfeld. Good. Awesome. Guys, you can take another minute to connect. We'll get started in a kind of a minute and a half. There's just some more people coming in. If you want to talk to each other, you don't have.
Hey, Mary, how you doing?
Hi, Cheryl. Doing good. Has anyone in the group found a school that'll let them in? No?
Jeremy is going to touch base on that and what they're trying to do.
I do know that several Catholic schools are actually in a meeting right now with the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, appealing the process of opening up their gyms to renters, not their whole school, just the gym to renters. So my brother's in on the meeting, so I'll have firsthand information sometime this afternoon, I hope.
Joe's part of that?
Yeah, he's on the board of
Cool.
directors at Pius High School, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Mhm. So I got an in to find out what exactly was said and what their plan is. Has anyone heard where the girls' Nike is? What are the four places that they're going to hold it? Anybody hear anything? That's the girls' side.
Ashley said she was gonna get an email out this week.
Yeah, that's what I
About
heard.
it.
That maybe someone had
Yeah.
a inside track. I heard Indy is going to be one of the places.
Where?
Indianapolis.
Oh,
Indy and that big complex that they have down there.
If you
what's
probably-
going on with New York to LA for guys' side? Anybody know?
They're stuck in Montana somewhere.
Is that a wish or?
They need schools.
I just wanted to see how long it was before Cheryl was going to catch that, my humor anyway. but-
There you go. Okay, I'm gonna get us started. So just thank you again for being here. I'm gonna just do a quick review of the agenda, what we're gonna focus on today. But at the same time, I wanna make sure that we're covering questions that you have or issues that have come up for you. So as we go through, you'll have an opportunity to do that. Just a reminder that out on the blaze365.com/WI Smart Start page, there is a survey that if you are looking, I mean, I know we're kind of in a different point right now, but if you were still looking to get some ideas for a survey and you haven't sent anything out yet to your teams, I do have, or even an email with questions to think about. Down on this page, I did put a link to sports surveys. So this link right here, and I just gave you some instructions where you can actually take it and copy this Google form. I'm sure some of you guys might find this too pretty for our boys teams, but anyway, so you can actually copy this, change it to your name, change the questions, and just adjust it for your use. That way you're not starting from scratch. And there's some questions out here that I know that I've talked to a few different clubs, so I know that people are running into issues with practice space, schedule, you know, how far into August can we go? So those are a number of tournaments, you know, how many can you really get in? So those questions are actually pushed or on this survey, and you can take it and make it your own. So right now, from what it sounds like, there's a number of people who are running into issues with their practice space or trying to find spots to practice. So we'll touch on that. We are going to hit on insurance from Keith Knoll and an AAU update and how we can move forward with the courts that we do have available to us. Also on this page, I did put some links out here on the right side. So it's interesting because some counties still have guidelines that people need to follow, and schools are closed through June 30th. But this link right here I found last night, restrictions by county. It's put out by Wisconsin Public Radio. It doesn't list every county, but it's got some information of some of the the major counties in our state, and if they have a some sort of stay-at-home order still in place. And there is this graph that shows you which counties have some restrictions and which ones don't. And the purple ones are the ones that are still restricted. And Keith, I'm sure you can look at this on your side of the state and let us know where you're at. As far as I know, in terms of NCAA, we do, and correct me if I'm wrong, especially on the guys' side of things, but as of right now, we have an NCAA recruiting dead period through June 30th. So we can't expect that any NCAA coaches are going to be at any of the tournaments through June. And it's still pending if they're going to allow them through July. I did hear from NJCAA, National Junior College Coaches Association, head coach out of Illinois, that the NJCAA they have already released a statement that they're allowing their coaches to go to tournaments through July. The NAIA hadn't, as of last week, hadn't released a statement on that yet. So any comments on that so far?
I got a text from one of our coaches, and he said they're making a decision about July, I think May 26th or 7th
Okay.
for the NCAA. Keith might know more on that.
Same thing. Flynn, he's got a podcast, so you could probably go to his website and look under Mike Flynn, and he does, has a podcast he was on last night. I didn't get a chance to listen to him a lot because I was on with our president, but you might want to check out what he had to say on his podcast. I'm sure it's on there.
Okay.
Um,
I'll check that out. So Keith, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you if you want to start updating everyone on where AAU is at.
Yes. First of all, I was on the phone last night with Lisa and also Jim Foy, our national insurance broker. And then after that call, I called our president up to get some answers. And he surprised me with, he said the AU's position is going to be, and I'll use this as an example, let's say the county that Matt's in there, that their county opens up and they can have tournaments or games or practices or whatever, then anybody that wants to go there and rent time or enter a tournament or whatever, it's AU, we're covering them. So we're not saying that if you live in a county that is restricted, if you as a coach and them take their kids and go play in an event where it's open, you're following the CDC, the state, and the county guidelines, you will have coverage if you're insured, with the AU program. So that was a good information I found out, at least after we talked last night. So as far as the insurance, some that have been calling to give you a little bit of a synopsis. We're going to get more in depth on insurance on Friday. Lisa's going to set up a meeting just for insurance at noon this Friday. And then if you have questions, specific questions that you would like to have answers to, if you could send them over to me in the next, today or tomorrow, where we can have some of those on display and answers written up so we don't have to spend a lot of time, discussing them. But I'll give you, as far as the sports accident part of the AAU, and I think everybody knows how the AAU operates, but on the membership program, but they have two coverages. One's considered A, that's just if you're playing an AAU event, which is $14 for kids, $16 for a coach. But a lot of you do the AB coverage. That covers you in anything you play in, even if it's not AAU. So in today's time, it's probably good to have that, not only the sports accident insurance, which is a $100,000 limit, $300 deductible. And to give you an example, and we've had this, we had a kid in our program one year blew her knee out, and her single family, and mom didn't, have any insurance or anything. And it cost her $300 for a $25,000 surgery. But most people have a deductible. In today's time, a lot of it's high deductibles. Well, the AU will pick up your deductible. And there is no deductible on ours if you have coverage in front of it. So we're secondary, but it's pretty good coverage. The liability part, which is important because most facilities are going to be even demanding it more. But one of the things, a lot of you are sponsored by different sponsors or whatever, and you may not have known this, but in the AAU, your sponsor can be listed as a third party on the certificate of insurance. And that might be something when you're talking to a sponsor that you can say, we have great insurance and we can name you as a third party, so you don't have to worry about getting sued because you were sponsoring us. I would say that the certificate of insurance, one of the things I've been thinking about since this happened, instead of each individual club having to, buy their own liability policy or whatever, because I do this on hockey, and we've had some football leagues I'm in charge to do the same thing around the country. But we could create a program, basketball club in the state of Wisconsin, and then put all the clubs that want to belong to it, let them join and become a level 2 club, but they would all be part of the mothership there. And then we would get that one to do all the third-party certificates. So everybody that would be involved in all the facilities you're playing in would get that third-party certificate, naming them as an additional insured. And that's kind of stuff we can talk about later if you want to know more about that. And there's probably some of you looking for types of insurance that may not be covered under the AU, but Jim Foy writes additional coverages to many of the sports organizations across the country. So if anybody has any questions right now, Lisa, you can see if they raise their hand, ask them what the question is, and I'll answer it.
Keith, we could be in that pool and it'd be liability insurance?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking, Cheryl, is that we make one statewide organization, and then we just have all the clubs, that we'll tell them they join the AAU, and then they become a level 2 club, and we'll put them under the statewide organization that we create. And it's a creative way, and not everybody have to spend $375 for the liability insurance. We'll just put them all under our statewide program.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I do too. I do come up with one every now and then, but since I've been locked up at home, I've had a couple extra ones hit me.
Do you know how much that might cost, Keith, instead of the?
We pay with the certificates right at about $400, and that includes all the third party. And we can have up to 200 facilities listed at no charge. So I don't think we would go over that. If we did, it'd be an extra $25 to add them to it. But it would be like, all the facilities that our clubs are playing at, that we get a list of from everybody, the names, addresses, who's in charge of those facilities, and we would add them to our certificate.
And you would mail them, Keith, then, because every January I got to send.
It's posted, Cheryl, that, they post all the certificates then online, and then they're easy to access, and that's made easy for the facilities too. But those that need to have it individually done to it, well, we can grab those with no problem and send them to them.
What's the coverage?
Well, if you look at that brochure, that, I don't know if you all got it or not. Lisa, did that get out to everybody?
The insurance certificate coverage summary. I can send it right now.
All right, she'll send that, and then we can discuss this even further on Friday. But on that one, you have per event, $10 million coverage, the aggregate for that per event in a year. So that would be what we'd be looking at, would be 12 million. And then the aggregate cap that we would have would be 25 million. And we have personal and advertising injury there, $10 million coverage. Participant legal liability is included in that if something would happen. If any of your people or whatever causes damages to the premises that are rented to you, there's $1 million coverage. And I actually had that happen. I was running a big hockey event at the convention center in Vegas about 3-4 years ago. And somebody accidentally took out a display that they were up on the stage getting their pictures taken in the middle, and they grabbed a hold of the curtain behind them and they pulled down the whole display. And on the end was a guy that had rented a glass display from the convention center that was worth about $7,000, and it shattered it into 1 million pieces. And our insurance paid for that whole thing. So I do know it's good insurance and it covers. And then the medical expenses to any one person, if somebody gets injured on the side or whatever, something, it's 5,000. Sexual abuse and molestation, which is a big one, it's included in the liability. And as you know, that's a big one to have. So, and then if any facility asks for additional, sometimes we come across, they ask for additional things, and 99% of the time we're able to do it with no problem. So
Okay, good.
it's pretty good coverage. You can't beat it. And then the only other thing I would say is the difference between A coverage and the AB. And like I said, the AB for $2 more, and everybody has to do it, but for $2 more, you're covered in every tournament your kids play in. So if they go to a tournament that's not AAU licensed or whatever, and somebody gets hurt, you're going to have coverage. And I for $2 more, I always tell people, and what my attorney told me years ago when they first came out with it, he said, no, you can't afford not to do it. And believe me, I've used it over the years. We've had kids injured in whether it's Mike Flynn's tournament or, over in, Tucker's tournament or any of those guys, we've had kids hurt over the years, and it's good to know that peace of mind that you're not going to get sued because some kid doesn't have insurance or doesn't have enough money to pay for something. And believe me, all you coaches, we're all great people until something happens and a lawyer gets it, and then it's Katie, bar the door.
Yeah,
Any other-
I found that AB insurance it helps me sleep at night, that extended one.
Yes.
Because we just, one thing, Keith, I've noticed there's just not a lot of tournaments that are AAU sanctioned in our area.
But that's why, Lisa, the AB is even more important to you as a club,
Mhm.
because your kids are going playing in that, and your kids are covered if something happens.
Yeah, and I've approached it 2 different ways, where originally we had all our athletes register, our families register individually. Then they would do it wrong because they wouldn't pick the AB. And I'm like, forget it, we're making it part of the program fee. So then we exported all the names, threw in all the information that was needed, ran the payment through ourselves. And then we were like, oh my gosh, we got to cut costs in some ways. So this year we actually went back as
Lisa, I think what could help you there, and what we do, I go through our Team Wisconsin program and Cara, but all of our kids and parents are told multiple times to go on and get their memberships before the first practice and I get the list of all the kids.
Mhm.
And then, because you get a club number, you get a sign-in number, you can pull up your club and see who's registered.
Yep.
And then I get to a certain point, and then I would just go ahead and pay for them. And then if the ones that didn't have the extra $2 on it, I would call the national and have that added. And
Okay.
then I'd make sure that everybody was done. But in our office can help any of you clubs do that, so just, let us know, because we have a guy that sits in there and that's the stuff he does all day.
When originally when that happens, Keith, I was told that they had to call themselves to update that. So if we're the director, do you think?
You know what,
You're
they're
saying-
telling you that, Lisa, but believe me, if I call down there and tell them to change something,
Yeah,
believe
if you
me.
call. If you call, it's
Well,
different.
well, yeah, but I will call for any club in the state of Wisconsin. I will handle it. And believe me, when I call them and I send them an email over and say, take care of these kids, it gets taken care of right then and there.
Awesome. I think one question that the group is probably really concerned about with insurance is COVID. What do you know about?
COVID is, as we talked about before, on the sports accident side, it doesn't exist because that's an illness. But if the club gets sued, and this is where I think it's really important, if the club gets sued, because somebody's accusing them of going to this event and they got sick with COVID because of an AAU club or whatever, the AU's insurance is going on the liability side is going to defend you. And that's a good peace of mind. But the only thing they tell us is they just tell you, follow your health guidelines that they tell you to follow wherever you're going. And as long as you're doing that, there's not going to be any issue. And even if somebody doesn't do it or doesn't happen, believe me, if they're an AU club in that, on the liability side, they're going to have coverage, because our company is going to put their lawyers on it. And I think everybody can probably agree to this. I think it's coming eventually from the government that they're going to hold harmless, that nobody's going to be able to sue anybody over this. But until that happens, we don't know with all the politics that's being played in Washington. But I think it's a good peace of mind to know that your club has that kind of insurance, and that they will defend you if you're sued under the COVID clause.
Is there any additional protection that we can add right now that would help?
Well, like what kind are you looking for?
That would just help on the COVID side in terms of if somebody does want to raise that topic up and sue us.
I don't think you need to. I mean, you have $12 million, the $10-12 million coverage with the cap at 25 million. If any of our clubs get sued and lose that, I think we're all in a lot of trouble.
How could somebody prove that they got it from an AU
Well,
practice?
I've already had this discussion with some pretty high-priced lawyers in New York City that represent us, and also Jim Foy, our insurance broker. And that's the thing. Nobody's going to be able to prove where they got the disease from. But let's say you take a team of 10 with 10, 15 parents, couple grandparents that go to an event, and 5 or 6 of them would come down with this disease. Well, you know what? How far is that going to go in the courts, if at all? But you know what? I would rather have the AU insurance behind me, because if you have to start defending yourself out of your own pocket, that could cost you just untold tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. You don't want to be stuck in that position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good.
Keith,
I mean, if you want, we're coming up with some additional plans that we want to offer and get our board of directors to accept. We're thinking of things that we can do that would cover us when these kind of things happen out there. We already have insurance, and we only had a couple of people in the AU that have used it. I got it set up years ago after 9/11. But if there's an incident, something like that happens, and your event gets canceled, it's called event cancellation. The insurance is out there. It's not that expensive, but depending on what you call it, not that expensive. But, I told that to our Taekwondo chair, and he ran his event in Fort Lauderdale, and he actually bought that insurance the year before 9/11 happened, because he was thinking about hurricane mostly. And lo and behold, he got canceled and all that, and he got a check for $250,000 that covered his business loss for losing that national event. So that was a cheap $1,200 he spent for that policy. But there's coverage, Lisa, there's basically coverage for anything you want. It's just like Foy said, I can insure a burning building if I get enough premium, you know. And it's funny when you say that, but it's really the truth. And it's going to be hard finding specific insurance that spells out COVID because the insurance companies have no idea where this is going to go. So right now, none of them are really writing anything. But the other thing is, I almost missed virtual, programs and that. It's all covered. I just got that from the AU yesterday. Foy ruled, got an answer from our insurance company, and they said yes. Any of our programs that are authorized by the AU will have liability coverage.
If we're running a virtual training.
Yep. If you run a virtual training, you're covered.
Wonderful. Great. Didn't even think about that. So
Yeah, it's good to know though.
yes, absolutely. Would you recommend that we add the word COVID-19 in our liability waiver?
No, they won't. You mean spelling out in the waiver you want people to sign?
Yes.
And then you're asking them not to hold you. Yeah, yes. If you would though, I think anybody that comes up with a release that they want signed, we can get free legal advice, because if you send it over to me, I can send it to insurance at our legal department and say, are you guys okay with this? And they may have a couple other ideas for you, at no charge that you might want to add. But I do that all the time.
I had included a liability waiver verbiage that we've used all these years we've been open, and I added COVID in there and included in that Smart Start plan in case people
Right.
need to see. Would you guys be okay if I sent that on to them and have them review it and
Yeah,
make sure that
that's
it's
a good
good
idea.
for everybody?
Yeah, and you know that I already sent that to Foy and to our
Okay,
legal.
good.
But now if you're asking them to review it, I need to authorize that, because it's like 19. You heard Foy crack a joke about that the other night. He said, "You're the one that sent me that 19-page." Yeah, he may even come up with a way to shorten some of it and get what you're trying to get. Yes, if you would send that in a separate email just dealing with that and say, Keith, we're looking at doing this, and make sure you put in there for our AU club, so then they know it's for an AU club, and then I can make that request and we can get an answer to it.
Wonderful. Okay, I'll send that off. That way it could just be done for everybody and nobody has to
Right.
pay that lawyer extra money to review their own.
And I hope everybody takes into consideration what I'm saying about we make one master club in the state and put everybody underneath that, individually, and then cover everybody. I mean, they're covered for practice, for games, and we make what's called a blanket registration, and we just do it at the start of September 1st every year through August 31st the following year, and we just do a blanket coverage. So it doesn't matter when we were running it, but we're covered because we'll have a license number on it, and you'll have a club, and you're part of the master club. I'm just trying to figure out a way that I could save a bunch of the clubs some money, and that would save everybody at least $400.
We're in.
We're in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Keith before we move on?
Well, if you got anything, please send it over to me and Cara, and we'll go through it. And then Friday at noon, we can get in the insurance, and we'll have our national broker on the phone who will be able to answer any questions you have on the insurance.
Great. I'll send out an invite to everybody for that, so they have.
Right, so I gotta run to
Okay.
another meeting, so I gotta get out of here.
Thanks,
but
Keith.
appreciate
Thank you.
Everybody taking the time. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Keith.
And I'll talk to you later.
Okay. So next we have Jeremy Thiesfeld is with us, and I'm sure you're itching to hear all the wonderful politic updates. So Jeremy, you can share what's going on in the wide world of Madison, Wisconsin, and the US.
Well, I won't share everything that's going on in Madison. I don't think you want to hear all of that. But related to your issue here, I think this has been largely a good news meeting so far. Good news in that we've been able to get our lives back to somewhat normalcy anyway. But unfortunately, there was an exemption in the Supreme Court decision that left K through 12 schools shut. And so that still put all of you in quite a fix, considering that a lot of your rentals are at K-12 facilities. But there is good news on that front also here in the last few days. I did get the letter sent to the governor and to DHS, and we also CC'd the Department of Public Instruction on it. It was both emailed and hand-delivered to them yesterday. So they are in possession of it. The letter, I sent Lisa the letter there, so she can feel free to send that to everybody if she hasn't done so already. There were a couple minor modifications to the letter that Senator Roth suggested, because that was the other piece of good news. The reason it didn't get sent on Thursday or Friday last week is because I found it really important to get a senator on board, particularly one that is the Senate president. And when I contacted Roger Roth on Friday, I heard through the grapevine that he was moving last weekend. He has 5 little boys aged like 10 and under, and they needed a bigger house. And so I didn't want to bother him over the weekend while that was going on. So I got hold of him Monday morning, and he said he'd look it over, and by Monday evening, actually, I think it was yesterday morning, he gave the thumbs up. We made a couple minor modifications and we sent the letter off. And along with the letter went the plan that Lisa and all of you had put together. And so that is in their possession now, and we asked them to give us an answer by Friday. I can't hold them to that, but that was the request in the letter anyway. Another bit of good news on that, and I think some of you probably already know this, there was an email that came out from the Department of Public Instruction on Friday afternoon, which I actually didn't know about until late on Monday. It got this is one of the negatives of not having my office staff in the Capitol. They're working in remote locations. And sometimes things get lost and misplaced. So anyways, this email came from the deputy state superintendent, and he sent it out to all of the state school districts. And I'll just read a portion of it to you. Like I said, some of you may have heard this already from some of your public schools. It says, in reviewing the Wisconsin Supreme Court decision, please be aware that public and private schools remain closed for pupil instruction and extracurricular activities through June 30th. For any activity that is not pupil instruction or an extracurricular activity, schools should consult with their local health departments as to how to engage in that activity safely or whether to engage in that activity at all. So what that means is that DPI is recommending to schools that if they want to have their athletic facilities available, or any part of their facility available, for use outside of pupil instruction or outside of their school extracurricular activities, which would apply to you because you are not a school activity, that they can do that, but they need to consult with their local health departments to find out how to do it safely. So if you get hold of, now back that up a bit, DHS is the one who has the hold on schools being closed right now. DPI, to my understanding, doesn't have that authority.
So
it's
DHS is above DPI, Jeremy?
Well, in this, I mean, they're an equivalent agency, but in this particular situation, DHS is the one who placed the schools on lockdown because of the health situation. And so it's curious to me that DPI is giving this advice without DHS concurring with it. And so I do have some questions as to the legitimacy of DPI being able to do this. But that being said, if you go to your athletic directors at your public schools armed with this letter, which I can get all of you a copy of it, their
Can you
superintendent.
email it to us now? Can you send it to us?
I sure can.
Yeah, Jeremy, I didn't have the most updated.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Did
Yeah,
anybody know
so-
that?
Yeah, so the superintendents, it would be on them to share it with their athletic directors. So it's perhaps your athletic directors don't even know about it. So if you were to go to your athletic directors armed with this advice from the Department of Public Instruction and say, hey, you know, if you can get your county health department to say, give you the thumbs up to rent your facility out to us, you might be able to get moving on some stuff here. And that could happen even before we get a response to the letter from DHS. Ultimately, DHS, it would be even better if they just said, yeah, go ahead, because they're the ones who have the hold on the school closures.
We called DHS today and asked them what they're gonna do?
Well, the trouble there is to be able to actually talk to somebody.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I can try that, but there also is the negative. There also is be careful what you ask for, because when you call them, they might say, "What? DPI wrote that? They had no right to do that," and you might get a quick shutdown on DPI's letter. Right now, the window is open a crack.
So it's up to you. Yeah, if you can call. Yeah, that makes sense because you sent the letter.
So I would say that I'll get this letter sent to you, and I'm not going to send you the whole letter. I'm just going to send you I'll do a screenshot of the part that you need, and I'll send it to Lisa. I can send it to you, and you can send it to everybody then. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's good. And then just an updated copy of your letter to sign with Roth.
Yes, I can do that also.
I
Well,
didn't,
Jeremy, I think it would be best if we got the letter that DPI sent out, because we would send that to the athletic directors we're dealing with to rent facilities.
Well, like I said, they should have access to that letter already.
Oh, so they got to contact their superintendent, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every district should have received it. And it's just a matter of whether their superintendent did the job of forwarding it off to the athletic director or not.
Jeremy,
That's
out of
good
that,
news.
who in the Catholic system would have that? Who would have gotten that letter in the Catholic?
That I'm not sure about, because it says here that it was sent to school districts. So I can't say for certain that the private schools would have gotten it. So that might be something, that might be a situation where they really would have no idea. So I'll get those things sent off to you. And in the meantime, I would, if I was in your shoes, I would call up the public school athletic directors that you work with, let them know about this letter, and volunteer to them that you would be happy to go communicate side by side with them with the county health department and work out a plan. I mean, you've got a plan right there. You've got the Wisconsin Smart Start. Communicate them the plan that you have and see how you can get these activities going as soon as possible.
Jeremy, are we not doing the phase 1, 2, and 3 anymore? Has that been overturned?
Correct. That ended. That all ended for all intents and purposes with the court decision.
Okay, good to know. So we
Yeah.
don't have to do 6 feet of distancing during practices if we can get in gyms?
No, none of that is. That's all just advice now. Is all it is.
Okay.
Now, the individual facility that you use may require that of you, but it's not in the form of a state order.
Mhm. Well, we need that letter from you to send off to the locations that we use. That's
Yep.
encouraging.
I
Awesome.
think he's got a point, though. We have to be careful that if the superintendents were supposed to send it and the ADs didn't get it, and then we're like, hey, this is what you should have gotten, it might make you or us look bad, like we're just, I don't know, overstepping our bounds. But
Lisa, this is
I don't
Kelly.
think so, Lisa.
This is Kelly. I work in the athletic office at our high school.
Okay.
And it's different for all high schools, right? But we're a high school that's also in Dane County. So we've got a lot of things going against us right now. But it has been, like in our situation, it was communicated. Our school, our superintendent has already made the decision that if and when we can start opening our spaces, both indoor athletic spaces and outdoor athletic spaces, the only usage will be for high school programs, our own high school programs, not even like the little kid rec department program that we have typically. So I think it's different for all schools, but it really, actually, I think in most schools, from my experience, is a superintendent decision and less of an athletic director decision, because the superintendent carries the liability for the whole school.
makes sense. And that's a good point to make too, Kelly, is that if they want, they're probably going to open up that space in those times to their own programs, which is typical of us as well. We try to get our own schedules running first before we would rent out the facility to an outside organization. Yeah.
I do know that the Catholic schools are going to welcome this letter. I sent your Smart Start to them, Lisa, along with my own.
Awesome.
I typed up what I would do if I were to open my leagues or to have practices in their facilities. And they are just open to anything because they have nothing. So any of you that are working with Catholic schools, get that information to them. I think they'll be more than, I'm going to get it out there, obviously, like I said earlier, to my brother. And I think that included a lot of Catholic schools because their rentals are important to them because that's revenue, and the Catholic schools are hurting right now.
Yeah, I would
So,
think.
if you're not in this area, get it to your arch, because I think they would welcome that letter.
So are all those private schools, I could say more specifically the Catholic schools, connected in some way to one organization that's overseeing them, where we could send an email?
Well, in this area, it's the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, but I think there's archdioceses all over the state. Not just Milwaukee doesn't govern the whole state, just the Milwaukee County area.
So it's usually by county.
At county and area, like I have one of my schools is St. Dominic's, and it's in Brookfield, which is not in Milwaukee County. That's Waukesha County, but they're still with the Arch. So I don't know how big the Archdiocese of Milwaukee extends, but I know there's different, some of you guys are from different parts of the state, look into that. And I'll keep you updated what I hear from their meeting as well.
Is anyone in an area right now that has restrictions in their county that you know of? Like Dane, Milwaukee?
Jeremy, you got any info on that?
Restrictions?
I thought it was just pretty open.
Do you mean in terms of the county putting on restrictions?
Yeah.
The
Like
only counties that I know of are Dane and Milwaukee. I'm starting to see certain, even municipalities, cities, villages, and counties maybe putting on some very limited, but I couldn't repeat those for you. It's something that seems to be kind of fluctuating day by day. What I do know is that there aren't too many county boards or city councils or village boards who are too excited right now about having to take a vote about shutting anything down.
They don't want to?
No, not a really exciting political vote to make at this time, particularly if you're facing re-election coming up.
Yeah.
But there are some areas that, such as a lot of them in Dane County and Milwaukee County, they feel confident in keeping theirs in place because I think that their people largely are supportive of it. I know that if our county board in Fond du Lac were to go into session this week and reinstitute a bunch of restrictions, there would be an awful lot of angry people who would be showing up at that meeting.
There'd be a riot.
Yeah.
I did say on the news today that the suburbs of Milwaukee it's just Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee, that's still under the tight rules. I live in New Berlin, but I'm about 5 blocks from West Dallas, and the bars are open. Not that I was there.
Are you sure, Mary?
I was there. But there's a million of them right down the street, and they were all going. And that was West Dallas, and I heard Tosa is opening. So I think it's just now narrowed to the city of Milwaukee, and the suburbs have opened.
Hey, Lisa, I just emailed you an original copy of that letter. I found that letter has been forwarded so many times it was all jumbled up. And so I found a somewhat original copy and just sent it to you.
Okay.
Is that the one from the DPI?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa, can you send that to us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send
And
it.
I'll get you a copy of the letter we sent to the governor and DHS. That copy is with my office, and I have to ask them to get it to me so I can send it off to you.
Okay. I'll wait for that, and I'll send both at the same time.
Hey, Jeremy, parents are wanting to know what's going on, and really, we just need buildings to run our practices. So with your permission, can we let the parents know that DPI has given the school districts permission to do outside activities, and now we're just waiting for DHS to make a decision?
I would do it in the form of that letter, what that letter says. So you're specifically
okay, that's
saying
fine.
what, yeah, if you want to quote that letter in your email.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That would
Well, I
be
just want your permission to do that because parents want to get their kids back in the gym.
Yeah, no, that's all public information.
Okay, good.
Feel free to
good.
share
Lisa,
that.
you're going to send it to us?
Yes,